Hi everybody, this is a short video on how to recode your reversals. So remember that a reversal is something where the question is worded in the opposite direction of the construct that you're measuring. So let's just look at this example here. So here, I'm trying to measure narcissism, so I have a question. You can see questions here. I like to be the center of attention. Well, that's pretty narcissistic, so that's not a reversal. I'm a born leader. Well, that's pretty narcissistic too, so that's not a reversal. I find it easy to manipulate people. That's very narcissistic, so that's not a reversal. Compliments embarrass me. Well, that's actually a reversal. People who are narcissistic love compliments, so they wouldn't be embarrassed by them. And so what does reversal mean again? So if somebody gives a high score, high rating that they're embarrassed by compliments, it means they're not narcissistic. So high score on the question is low on the construct I'm trying to measure, narcissism. And vice versa. So if they give a low score to this, I'm not embarrassed by compliments. That low score on that question actually indicates a high level on my construct of narcissism. So it's reverse, it's a reversal. It's a flipped number, if you will. And so what we need to do is we need to flip the numbers in our data. So remember that we have a 5-point scale here, with 5 being, strongly agree, 4 somewhat agree, 3 is neutral, 2 is somewhat disagree, and 1 is strongly disagree to this statement. And so we have a 5-point scale, so we need to flip each of those 5 points into a new score, so that a high score on our reversed item, our reverse score, now is high for narcissism also. So it's in the same direction, and it's in the same direction as these other questions. So we need to do that, because if we add them together without reversing this, our numbers are going to be off. So how do we do that? So it's relatively simple, although there's several steps, but it's not too hard. So you go under transform, and I strongly recommend recode into a different variable. I would not recode into the same variable, because I don't want to get rid of my original data. I want to kind of keep it there in case there's any mistakes or anything happens. I want to be able to trace that stuff. So recode into different variables. So what that means is it's going to take one of these variables, in this case question number 4 about being embarrassed about compliments, and I'm going to create a new variable for the reverse scores, for the flipped scores. And so the first thing is you got to select which question you want to deal with. So it's question 4, compliments embarrass me. So I want that. I want to deal with that. I want to reverse it. We do need to give it a name. I prefer to give it a very descriptive name. So I'm going to give it the same name as the original variable, except I'm going to just say I'm reversing it. Reversed. It needs a label. So label is the thing that's going to be printed out on the SPSS output. So I'm going to have the same one, just a very descriptive label that I'm reversing the original question number 4. You have to say change. What does that do? Well, you see there's a question mark there in the output variable. If you say change, it says, oh, okay, I'm going to take this old variable, this old question, and I'm going to create a new one. But we have to do more. So it just knows it's going to create a new variable, but we have to tell it how to do it in terms of the scores. So remember, we're flipping it. So we just simply have to flip all the scores. So if somebody said 1, strongly disagree to that question, basically they're not at all embarrassed by compliments, they would be quite high on narcissism. So 1 would be 5 now. You press this button called add. So here what we're doing is we're listing the changes in the data, changes in the numbers for the new variable. Somebody says 2, so they're, somewhat low on the question of being embarrassed by compliments. They'd be somewhat high on narcissism. So 2 would be 4. A big trick here is we have a middle point of 3. We also have to say 3. 3 is 3. I know that sounds a little bit weird. You might want to say, oh, well, doesn't SPSS does that automatically? It does not. If you don't tell it, it will get rid of all the 3s. So if you don't do this step, all the 3s will disappear in your data, and you'll lose a lot of numbers and a lot of people and a lot of sample size. So make sure if you have a middle point, the middle point is like that. 3 equals to 3, regardless of what the middle point is. If it's middle point's 4, 4 equals 4. So make sure you have that. And see, I'm just going in sequence here. So 4 on the question, which means there would be a somewhat agreement that they're embarrassed by compliments. That would mean that they're somewhat non-narcissistic. So they'd be about a 2 on narcissism. I add that. If they said 5, I'm really embarrassed by compliments, they're really low on narcissism. So I add that. I can double check this. I can see that I've done everything, and it's kind of nice. You can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's kind of a nice little trick. And all I do now is just say continue. And so now it knows how to change the numbers. And all you need to do now is just say OK. And you'll see here it's saying it did it. You can see that it's changing the numbers and it created a variable. If you're not confident about the output, there it is right there. It created another variable. You can kind of see this too. There was a 4 right here on the original question 4. Now it's a 2. Right here there was a 1. Now there's a 5. So we can kind of see the new variable. We can see it's been switched. You know, sometimes you have a lot of numbers, so you don't want to go line by line checking it to make sure it's all right. You can actually pretty much basically run frequencies to double check this. So if you want to do a quick double check, especially if you have a lot of data, just run the frequencies. This is from a previous video. Sorry about that. So just run. Oops, sorry about that. You want to run the original question and the reverse question, and simply just run the frequencies. And the number of people for the different answers should be flipped. So remember, we said that 1 is a 5 now. So 1, there was 4 people in the original question. The new reverse question, and saying there's a score of 5, there is 4. 2 on the original question there, or I'm sorry, original question would now be a 4. So there should be 5 there, and there is. There were 5 people that said 3 on the original, and they should be still 5, yep. And then 4 should now be a 2, so there's 9 people for 4, and there's 9 people for 2. And then a 5 now should be a 1. So there's 2 people that said 5 on the original, 2 people said 1 in the reversed. So we've actually run a quick double check. Everything looks fine. So now we've reversed the score. And that's how you recode data and do the reversal so now it's in the right direction. That high scores are high on narcissism, low scores are low on narcissism. That's it for this video. I will see you in class.